At this point, we have partnered and we need to get this information. According to your ordinance, the property owner must supply the names, addresses, phone numbers, and emails of who initiated the foreclosure or who owns the vacant property. We put that on the web-based program. Your staff has complete access. You can have one person, you can have 50 people have access to it. We don't care. There is no licensing fees for having access to the program.
All right, does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Urban? All right, I think that'll be something that we're going to be discussing. We just passed that ordinance at our last meeting, so we're not real familiar with everything yet. What is the process if we decide to go with your company?
You, Mayor, at this point have or Brian has at this point a best practice agreement that says you agreed to contract with us to do this registration. And in turn, we're going to retain $125. We're going to forward the $175 onto the village 30 days after we register it. Every 30 days, you will get a check from the from ProChamps.
Okay. And if we enter into this agreement with you, when would you start, and would it work with properties that are already in foreclosure, or just anything from this point forward?
Anything that has been issued a foreclosure document through the courts, we would go after. Whether they put the foreclosure in let's say 2017, it is now under your ordinance, which you passed a couple weeks ago, it would be effective. So we would contact all foreclosed properties and all vacant properties going from the date that you passed the ordinance.
All right, very good. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Urban, thank you very much. We will be in touch with you and let you know what we decided. Okay. Mr. Pearson, do you have anything that you want to address to the board this evening?
No, I'm sorry. I'm just here to watch.
All right, very good. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is the approval of our minutes from our December 1st meeting. Should be in your packet.
Make a motion, we approve them.
Second.
Got a motion from Steer, a second by Frixell to approve the minutes of our December 1st meeting. Any further discussion? Roll call, Hoopengarner.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Steer.
Yes.
Frixell.
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Motion carried. Also, you should have in front of you the treasurer's report. Give you a chance to look that over, see if you have any questions. If not, no questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report and to pay all outstanding bills.
So moved.
And I have a motion from Hoopengarner to that effect.
Second.
And I've got a second from Johnson.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, need a roll call vote. Johnson,
Yes.
Steer,
Yes.
Frixell,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Hoopengarner.
Yes.
And motion carried. Mr. Lott, would you like to address the board?
Okay, good evening, everybody. The only thing I have on the agenda for me is a report on the water tower design. We had hoped to submit that here in the early part of this week. During our final review and kind of value engineering, somebody had asked a question, one of those whatabouts, and we began to coordinate a little bit more with Illinois American, and also identified that they probably need to sign the permit, Brett, as a provider of water to you. And identified an opportunity to simplify the project just a little bit, actually eliminate some equipment and make it a little bit cheaper. So it's actually a good thing. But we need to get their signature on the permit forms, and we had to make some design tweaks. We are 95% done with that. I need to finish a specification. So I'd like to beg another few extra days here pending their signature on the permits. But it added a few days to our process here, but it's going to benefit the project in the long run, make it simpler to operate and cheaper to construct. So that's where that's at. I'm certain by next time we meet, they will have been submitted. Hopefully we can get the signature back from the water company here very shortly, Fred, and I can get your signatures on the rest of them and submit it. I'd love to promise this week, but if we get them, we could, but more than likely it's gonna be next week.
All right, very good. I guess my only question is, when we apply for the permit, is there the money we need to come up with for the permit application?
No, you should not. As a municipality, you do not have to pay. If you were a private developer, you sure would, but as a municipality, there is no permit fee.
All right, very good. Thank you, Brandon. Is there any questions for Brandon? All right, hearing none. Brandon, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas.
I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, and it's been a challenging year. It continues to be a blessing to work with everybody. I hope you all have a very safe and enjoyable holiday season with your families.
All right, thank you much. Good
You
night.
guys. Bye now.
Okay, Michael, would you like to address the board with anything you might have for us?
Sure thing, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Only a couple things, really. First, you'll notice in your packets is our tax levy ordinance, just levying the annual municipal tax for the fiscal year May 2020 to April 2021. I believe that's up for a vote tonight. And then the only other thing really is just to mention that Brian and I will still be working on getting those necessary updates to the employee handbook. We had a good conference call about the changes that need to be made. So we'll start pushing through and getting those changes in there. And then eventually that handbook will get to you guys and put up for a vote.
All right, does anyone have any questions for our attorney? I've got one little question here for you. And as I was looking at the tax levy ordinance, the first paragraph under section 1, from the way I read this, that each year may not exceed 0.25% of the value of such property as equalized assessed by the Department of Revenue. Is that something that you guys calculate to make sure that we are under that 0.25%? Because I have not checked that out to make sure.
You know, I think Bill put that in there. I do think Bill had checked that just to make sure. Off the top of my head, I'm not positive. I didn't prepare this ordinance, but I can certainly ask Bill real quick if you're curious about that.
That's the only thing that is different from previous ones that we've passed, and that's what kind of drew my attention to it. This is the first time we've had the sanitary district in here, so I don't know if that was something that is required to be in there, but I'm sure that he's figured that out for us. I just had not seen that wording before. That's why I'm curious.
Right. No, I understand your concern. I'll reach out to Bill right now just to make sure and get with an answer.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Unfortunately, I can't say goodnight because we're gonna need you for a little later on in the meeting, so stick
Well
around.
aware, not a problem.
All right. Brian, you're up.
All right, in your packet, the first thing on my agenda is a document that's entitled Administrator's Report 12/15/20. What I've done is just put a list of highlights since the last meetings. I'll kind of walk through these. If you have any questions, you can let me know. First, we have been working on the website project. You guys approved some funding for that. We have gone through and kind of redesigned the site map to improve the navigation of it, added sections on economic development. We're working on the forms so that they can be completed online. In addition to that, I've been working with a local photographer, Rachel Sauter, and she's been around town taking photos of various sites for us to update the photos on the website as well. I'm currently going through each page right now and kind of rewriting the copy or updating it where it needs to be done. I've got a meeting scheduled next week with Lori and the developer and myself to kind of get trained on how to update the site moving forward so that we don't have to engage her to do that and to make some final changes. So Fred has seen the development site, and I hope maybe by the end of next week I can send out a link so you all can take a look at what that looks like and the progress we're making. I hope it to be a good 80+% done by the end of next week. We have completed submitting all of the money for the CURES reimbursement dollars. We've submitted 10 different applications for reimbursement. The total dollar amount is just under $14,000 that we're asking for to get back. We've got one already that's approved, and that was for the laptop. And I had originally done that one about a week earlier than the ones that I just completed. So I think it's just a timing issue. But all 10 are submitted, and we're hoping we'll get approval on all $14,000. We've already got approval on the laptop that we purchased earlier for my role. So that's good news. The water price increase letters have gone out, and Tracy did a good job with that. So if you see her, thank her. That was a big task, but she got those all together. We sent out almost 600 letters, so those are out. So you may start hearing the noise. November financial review, we've completed that. The reports are really working well. I'll walk through the numbers in a minute. We've updated to now a Zoom rather than using Fred's. We have one for the city of village. That's what we're using tonight. The truck route signs, all of them are in on both sides of 116, and they are now up. So that part of that is done. Jim went down south today and worked on the meter tests with the company. They tested all the meters, and I just got the report about a half hour ago, so I haven't looked at it in detail, but I did talk with Jim, and basically what it's showing is we don't think the meters are our problem either. So that means we still don't know where the water loss is coming from. So we've got more work to do. We have a staff meeting tomorrow. We'll be doing the annual sexual harassment training tomorrow around lunchtime, and we'll be working on that. As Michael said, we had a call with Caleb's wife, he and myself, on the employee handbook. Basically, Caleb's wife Gina did a great job of giving us a really updated template from the Society of Human Resources Management. Michael's gone through and looked at it. It's not Illinois specific, so Michael's updating the Illinois specific laws and has sent me all that information. And now it's my job to sit down and kind of consolidate the SHRM template with the information that Michael sent with the specifics for our village that are in our current document. I'm going to take that up as soon as I get the website project done, but that's going to be another fairly sizable project to go through and kind of rework and rewrite that. So I'll be doing that soon. Jim asked me to bring out that the Elbert Street lift station is filling up with unapproved waste. What we're finding is those flushable wipes and diapers and some other things. It's causing the check valves not to close, and so the pumps continue to run, which is increasing the wear on them. We sent a letter to the residents in that area to ask them to not do that anymore. And we're going to keep watching it and see what happens, but we may eventually need to take some form of action to help us make sure that is discontinued, because we're worried about the wear and tear on those pumps as they continuously run. So there'll be more on that later. And then the conference room upfit, that will be officially, we're scheduled to have it installed on the 28th of December. So we're hoping that day the vendor will come out and we'll get everything put in place. So that's the tentative date for getting that installed. Any questions on any of that stuff?
On that Albert Court lift station, that has been an ongoing thing. Jim has talked to people down there, and I think he even had a letter sent out to them once. So it's nothing new. It's constantly happening.
Yeah, that's right. This is the second letter that we've sent out, and the next step might be to try to televise, if we had to spend some money to do that, to see if we can determine where it's coming from and then go that route. But we're hopeful that this second letter will improve the situation. But yes, you're right. It's happened before.
One thing that we did do on another area where we were having problems is we were able to determine where that problem was, and we had that customer put in a special trap before our sewer line so that it would catch anything before it got into our sewer. So if that's the case, if we can determine where the problem is actually coming from, we may have to go that route also.
Anything else on any of that I covered, guys? Okay, so the next document to look at is the financial report document. It's basically got 3 slides per page. So the very first slide is the 2020 budget versus actual. So this is November, all funds. If you remember right, follow the center column down. That's the most important. So we had income of $69,538 for the month and expenses of $91,848 for the month. So we lost $22,310 for the month of November. That's actually a little bit better than what we had budgeted. We had budgeted to lose $30,000. You go down to the next slide, then it shows you by account, general, MFT, unemployment, TIF, BDD, and so forth, where we lost money. So general was down, the TIF account, obviously, because we don't have income yet. Water was down. Sewer and garbage were up just a little bit. We flip to the next page, then on the back, you can see then the November year-to-date numbers. So again, following the center column down, our income is actually a little higher than what we budgeted, almost $56,000, $57,000 higher than what we budgeted. It's at $639,768. Our expenses are lower than what we had budgeted, but we're still underwater year-to-date of $64,427. I started playing with some numbers. So year-to-date through November, we've lost $64,427 operationally, but if you start to put together all of the projects that we've spent this year that weren't in the budget. So we spent $85,000 on the coffee can. We spent a little over $50,000 on the water tower design and development and upfront studies. You can see we spent almost $34,000 on the TIF program, mostly legal fees. We spent $30,000 on the lagoon between sand and then the $16,000 to clean the sand pits. So that's $198,000 of project money that's been spent so far this year. And if we spent $198,000, we're still only $64,000 to the negative. That means if we'd not done those projects, we would be roughly $134 to the good. So the point I'm making here is operationally, I think we're doing okay. It's the projects that are driving our P&L statement to not look as good as we'd like it to. The good news is that we do have residual cash that we're sliding over. So on the balance sheet, we're trying to cover those expenses with cash. And we're taking some other actions moving forward to help us operationally. Probably my biggest concern on the operations side is on a day-to-day standpoint is the water loss and the water pricing, which we're taking steps to address, because I think that's going to be an ongoing problem. So again, it doesn't mean we're still $64,000 to the negative, but I think once we understand the project work and the things that have been done there, I'm less concerned about operationally that we're losing money. The next slide, cash summary. So what I've done here is you can look at the total cash we had on hand in October of $1,260,539. In November, it was dropped to $1,241,929. So we lost $18,000 of total cash for the month. Operationally, you can see we went from 567 down to 538. So we lost 28,727 of, I guess, liquid or operational cash. And then our designated earmark cash, we actually went up because we transferred some from operations over into the designated side. So overall, the cash loss was about $18,000 for the month. Last slide in summary. So we've got operational losses in November and year to date. I walked through the project work to help you understand that. Our operating checking account balance was very low. It was at $46,000 prior to this last treasurer's report. We dropped almost $80,000 in cash, operating cash in the last 2 months. But again, that's that project work that's coming through, and we do have reserves to cover that. And we're going to talk later in the meeting. I think Deanna's going to cover some discussion about what to do with a CD that's coming due and how we might want to allocate that cash to help cover the shortfall in our general operating account. Any questions on the finance stuff?
I think just a comment that I want to make is, we knew going into this year that we were going to be spending a lot of money on projects, and we did allocate in our budget some of those, that money in our budget. That's why when we approved our budget last year for this coming fiscal year, we knew we were at a deficit, but we also knew that we had savings that we had been putting away for the last 10 years or so that I've been mayor. We've been putting away this money, realizing that we were going to need a new water tower, realizing that we have to do maintenance on our sewer lagoon every so often. That's the importance of putting that money away, like we've been doing every month. We're putting away $5,000 a month for road projects, knowing that in the future we're going to have to redo some roads here. Our last major project was a $300,000 road project that we were able to cover from the savings that we had put away. So even though it looks like, hey, we're 64,000 in the red, all of that money, like Brian said, is coming out of the reserves that we were planning for anyway. So as you look at it that way, we're actually doing much better than what I had anticipated for this year, especially once COVID hit. One other thing that I'd like to just point out, and this is just some information that we got recently, of our sales tax, our tax revenue that we get from the state of Illinois. As you remember, their numbers are always a couple of months behind. So when the state kind of shut things down in end of March, early April, we didn't actually see the impact of that until starting in about May. In May, we were down almost $12,000 in tax revenue from the state. In June, almost $18,000. In July, about $4,000. We started opening up at the end of June. And so in August, we started to see some of that tax money go back up. So comparing 2019 to 2020, in August, we were up about almost $7,000 in tax revenue. September, another 3,000, October, 3, November, about $3,000. So we are seeing our tax revenues going up from last year. Now with being shut down again, we will see the impact over the next couple of months start happening again. But with that being said, we're still up about $4,000 so far this fiscal year over last year's fiscal year.
And then the other thing to keep in mind is that the BDD tax increase starts to happen, that begins in January. And then if we, the water price increase in January as well. So we're going to see some additional revenue from those two things. And then from a cash perspective, if we get all $14,000 back from the reimbursement, that'll be $14,000 that'll come back into the cash side of things. So that'll be helpful. The last thing I've got is in the packets, you'll see a 2021 board meeting dates. It just basically went in and documented the first and third of each of the months and put them on a sheet of paper here. And my understanding from Fred is that that needs to be voted on and approved by you all, and then we can get those published here before the beginning of next year.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve our 2021 board meeting dates as designated.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Weaver, second by Fritzel. Any further discussion? Roll call. Steer,
Yes.
Fritzel,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Hoopengarner,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Steer.
Yes,
Oh.
sir.
Motion carries. Sorry, Bill, I started with you.
Yes, twice.
Okay, where are we now?
Finance.
All right, are there any questions before we go to committee reports? Anybody have any questions or comments? Hearing none, let's go to committee reports. Finance.
Okay. First off, the water tower savings. We had another bill that came in a few weeks ago that we were not able to vote on because we didn't have all the information available for the last meeting to be able to put it on the agenda. But what boils down to is we need to transfer $10,000 from the water tower savings to the general fund as a permanent transfer to offset the expenses that we have spent so far for the planning and design for the water tower savings. So I'd like to make a motion that we transfer that.
All right, I have a motion by Hoopengarner to transfer, make a permanent transfer of $10,000 from water tower savings to general fund.
Second.
And we've got a second by Steer. This is basically covering money that has already been spent out of the general fund. We're just taking it out of our water tower savings account. Any further discussion? Roll call. Fritzel,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Hoopengarner,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Steer.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And the other thing that we have is we have a CD at Kansas City Community Bank. The amount that's going to be in there is $77,439.60. That could change. There could be another day's interest added on to that. It's coming due the 17th, which is 2 days. We've already contacted the bank to give us some options what we need to do with it, and they're going to take care of that on Friday. I just like to make a recommendation that we move that money to the general fund. Once it's taken in, put into the general fund, Then we'll be moving to the money market, $20,000. $50,000 to the 51 fund from the 01 fund as a due from. And then $7,439.60 would stay in the general fund. That $7,439.60 could change because of a day's interest. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to move everything, close that account, move it all into the checking account. Then we will distribute it from there. That's how the auditors would like to see us do that.
Okay, just to recap, we've got a motion to basically not renew the general fund CD of $77,439.60. Not renew that, but to move that 20,000 into money market, 50,000 into the 51 fund, which is our
Yes.
water.
Yes, and that fund will be paying it back, so it will be a due from. That 51 fund will have to pay that back to the old.
And that payback will come from the water price increase.
All right, so that $50,000 will be
Right?
put into the water fund, and the remainder will go into our general fund, a little over 7,000. That 50,000 that goes into the water fund would be a due from. In other words, it's not a permanent transfer. It is a transfer that will be paid back to the general fund, basically from the rate increases that we just passed that will go into effect in January.
Yeah, operationally, the water fund is negative. So this will bring that up to a positive point. They will be paying that back.
And this comes from the recommendation from the Finance Committee, and they talked with the auditors about this, how best to do this. So this is from the auditors. Anyone have any questions? I think we've got a motion by Hoopengarner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Steer. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, let's roll call. Gates,
yes,
Weaver,
Yes.
Hoopengarner,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Steer,
Yes.
Fritzell.
yes.
Motion carried.
The only other thing we have on there is the beginning of 2021 budget discussions. If anyone has anything that they'd like to look out for the budget going forward for next year.
All right, yeah, basically, it's time to start our budget discussion. So as you look at your committee assignments, let us know what you're planning for the coming year, what kind of monies you think you're going to be spending, if there's any major increases, or if you think your committees need basically what they got last year, or maybe even less. Let us know. We will be starting these discussions starting at our next meeting. We will start with proposals and be working from there starting at our next meeting. Anything else under finance?
That's all.
All right, Mr. Gates, anything under sewer?
Not at this time.
All right,
I do have one thing, Todd. I just found out late yesterday that they will start on the Lake Shore project tomorrow. So the lining from the manhole just before Duryea's down to the next manhole, and then the roots and the lateral cleanup work starts tomorrow.
Okay.
If that's happening in anyone's property, have they
talk to them?
I was told today that they put out notices to those people that are going to be impacted.
All right, so the sanitary sewer lining on Lake Shore Drive will begin, if all goes well, unless we get 3 inches of snow tomorrow, will begin tomorrow. Streets and alleys. Rod, what do you have for us?
I don't have anything tonight.
All right, we already got updated that the truck route signs are up. I think you noticed that our Christmas decorations are up. Police and planning, what you got?
Only incident reports if there was any up there.
I did not check, but we'll let you know.
All right.
Water.
We had 6 checks from the water escrow fund in the amount of $400 that was refunded. You get that, Myrna?
Yes.
Okay. And then I have no totals this meeting. And then as far as the water rate increase letter update, Brian already let you know that it was sent out, and he already let you know about the test meter update. And that is it for water.
Buildings and grounds.
And the only thing I have is I had to place a door panel on Jim's truck for a total of $566.97. So I'll make a motion, we pay that.
All right, got a motion to approve the repair of the Chevy pickup truck
Door panel.
door panel for $566.97. Do I have a second?
Second. I'll
second it. All right, second by Gates. Any further discussion? Roll call, Weaver,
Yes.
Hoopengarner,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Steer,
Yes.
Fixell,
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. All right, moving on to anything further on committee reports? Any questions? Concerns?
Fred, I did.
We got one thing on the police and planning incident reports.
We had 38 from 11/22 to 11/28.
Oh,
Wow.
a lot.
We had 62 from 11/29 to 11/5.
So 12/5
It was 11/29, 11/5. That makes no sense,
has to
does
be
it?
12/5.
Yeah, it's gotta be 12/5.
12/5,
I'm just
62.
reading what it says.
62
Sorry.
and 38.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of
I mean,
rescue
it's pages long.
calls, so that would be a lot.
So there.
Yeah, they are a lot of rescue calls on there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
been a very, very busy month. I think we're getting our money's worth out of the county on those. All right, anything else further on committee reports? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve resolution 2020-12-02 in reference to our extending the executive powers.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion by Johnson, second by Fixell. Any further discussion? Roll call, Hoopengarner,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Steer,
Yes.
Fixell,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. Entertain a motion to approve. Before we get to that, Michael, did you have a chance to talk to Bill on that?
Yep, I was just gonna let you know. So yeah, I talked to Bill and he said, since we're acquiring the sanitary district, this is something we have to have in there, and that 0.25% figure was based on last year's figure. So that number is correct.
All right, very good, thank you. I will enter. Anything else? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve our 2020-2021 tax levy ordinance. The total levy of 161,405.62. The ordinance number 20-12 dash,
Well, hold on,
hang on,
we got the minutes here. We did the annual appropriations was 1203, so it must be 1204.
okay. So ordinance number 20-12-04.
So move.
Motion by Frixell,
Second.
second by Hoopengarner. Any further discussion? Roll call. Johnson,
Yes.
Steer,
Yes.
Frixell,
Yes.
Gates,
yes,
Weaver,
Yes.
Hoopengarner.
Yes.
Motion carried. The next thing on your agenda is, under other business, is the coffee can permit fee. We discussed this at our last meeting, and I spoke with our previous city administrator, and as expected, there was discussion when this project first came up with Mr. Gully about the possibility of this being waived, but there were no guarantees that it would be done. So, which is consistent with what, he's asking it to be waived. There was discussion that it was a possibility of being waived. But at that time, it was just an idea. So, I will entertain a motion to waive the building permit fee. And basically because of the amount of money that they had to spend with the tanks that were being removed from that property. If those tanks didn't have to be removed, probably wouldn't even consider it, but with the amount of money that was spent on that, I would entertain a motion to waive the building permit fee for that project.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Steer, second by Weaver. Any further discussion? Questions or concerns? All right, roll call. Steer,
Yes.
Frixell,
No.
Gates,
yes,
Weaver,
Yes.
Hoopengarner,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Tony was a no.
All right, our next board meeting is scheduled for January 5th. As far as I know, we don't have any correspondence. Is there anything else that needs to come before the board? All right, if not, I will entertain a motion to, that in compliance with section 2, C1 of the Open Meetings Act, executive session to consider issues of employment, compensation, discipline, and performance of employees.
So move.
A motion by Frixell,
Second.
second by Hoopengarner.
Are you recording?
Any further discussion? Roll call. Frixell,
Yes.
Gates,
yes,
Weaver,
Yes.
Hoopengarner,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Steer.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. At this time, we will be asking all of our people to leave except for the trustees and attorney. So anyone who is not a trustee or an attorney, we ask you to sign off. What we will be doing is, after our executive session, we will come back and allow you to rejoin us if you wish.
Are you gonna switch meetings or we just do it?
Still got one person on. I don't know.
He's got a few more.
Uh,
You gotta run this one.
Yeah, I might need you to log in because I don't have a login for it. Go ahead and stop the recording.
So do they know that? Oh, stop recording.
Recording.